25 pounds. That's how much Patches weighed when they found him. Not a small dog, not a toddler, a cat. A single domestic cat who had grown so large he could no longer jump, no longer run, and some days could barely walk across the room without stopping to rest. 3 vets told his previous owner the same thing. This cat is a medical emergency. And for 2 years, nothing changed. Then, Margaret walked through the shelter door, and what happened over the next 14 months will change the way you think about second chances forever. 25 pounds. The number sounds impossible until you see him. Patches was a black and white domestic shorthair, with a round belly so wide it nearly touched the floor when he walked, which he did slowly, carefully, the way very old men walk on icy sidewalks. His eyes were a pale blue-green that looked almost startled, like he was perpetually surprised to find himself in the body he was in. He had been surrendered to Millbrook Animal Rescue on a Tuesday morning, with a single note that said, "Too expensive to care for." He was 8 years old, he weighed 25 pounds, and he had nowhere to go. The shelter staff did what they could. They put him on a measured diet immediately. They gave him a low platform so he could get in and out of his litter box without injury. They documented everything, but the adoption inquiries, what few came in, stopped the moment people saw his file. Too old, too heavy, too much vet work ahead. The word the staff started using quietly among themselves was unadoptable. They never said it to Patches, but he seemed to know anyway. Margaret Holloway was 67 years old, a retired school librarian who had lost her cat of 16 years 4 months earlier and told herself she wasn't ready for another one. She had driven to Millbrook that afternoon to drop off donated supplies, not to look, definitely not to adopt. Except she wasn't, because on her way back through the lobby, she passed the large cat room and stopped. Patches was sitting in the middle of his enclosure, completely still, looking directly at the door. Not at the window, not at his food bowl, at the door, like he had been watching it for a long time and decided at some point that the watching itself was the thing he could do. Margaret stood there for 4 minutes before she went to find someone. "What's his story?" she asked. The staff member, a young woman named Becca, paused, in the way people pause when they're deciding how much truth to give. "He's been here 7 months," she said. "He's got a long road ahead. Weight management, joint issues, possible thyroid work. He's not an easy case." "Is he sweet?" Margaret asked. Becca looked at Patches. "He's the sweetest cat in this building. He just needs someone with patience." Margaret nodded slowly. "I've got patience," she said. "I was a librarian for 31 years. She took him home the following Saturday. The first week was harder than she expected and easier than she feared. Patches moved through her house like a ship finding its harbor, slowly, deliberately, with great attention to where things were and what they meant. He located the couch within the first hour and claimed the left cushion without ceremony. He found the patch of afternoon sun on the kitchen floor by day 2 and returned to it each day at exactly the same time. He seemed, from the very beginning, like a cat who had been waiting to live somewhere specific and had simply been delayed. The vet visits started immediately. Thyroid levels, joint inflammation, controlled portions, puzzle feeders to slow him down. Margaret kept a notebook. She wrote down everything: what he ate, how far he walked each day, whether he seemed comfortable, whether he seemed happy. The vet, a woman named Dr. Calloway, told her the goal was slow and steady. No crash diets, no dramatic interventions, just patience and consistency, month after month. Margaret was good at patience. She had learned long ago to hold her own emotions to the side. She applied all of it to Patches. "I see you're still here but haven't subscribed yet. That honestly means everything to us. Hit that button now. These stories take everything we have to tell." 3 months in, Patches had lost 2 pounds. It doesn't sound like much, but Dr. Calloway said it was exactly right. 2 pounds in 3 months, steady and sustainable. She said some cats in his condition never lost a single ounce because the owners couldn't maintain the discipline. Margaret had not missed a single measured meal. She had not given a single extra treat. She had sat on the kitchen floor with him every evening while he ate, keeping him company the way you keep company with someone doing something difficult. He started meeting her at the door when she came home from her afternoon walks. Not running, Patches didn't run yet, but he would be there, sitting at the edge of the entryway, tail moving in a slow, steady arc, eyes on her face. Every single day, without fail, like he had decided this was his job now and intended to do it properly. She started calling it his greeting committee of one. By month 6, he had lost 4.5 pounds. He could jump onto the couch unassisted for the first time in what the vet estimated had been years. The first time it happened, Margaret cried. She sat on that couch next to Patches, who was breathing a little hard from the effort of the jump and looking enormously pleased with himself, and she cried for a few minutes while he pressed his round, warm head against her arm. It was just a couch. It was just a jump, but it was also proof that all those measured meals and kitchen floor evenings had mattered. He purred the entire time, loud and steady, like a small engine that had finally found the right fuel. By month 9, he was down 6 pounds. The joint inflammation had decreased enough that Dr. Calloway reduced one of his medications. He had started what Margaret called his morning patrol, a slow circuit of the downstairs rooms each morning before breakfast, nose working, tail up, checking that everything was where it was supposed to be. He was, Margaret told her neighbor, becoming himself. Whatever that self had always been underneath all those pounds and all those years of not being quite right, it was coming through now. Curious, deliberate, deeply affectionate in the particular way of cats who have decided that one specific human is their entire world. He followed her from room to room. He waited outside the bathroom door. He arranged himself on her lap each evening with the careful precision of someone who had found exactly where they belonged. GMA covered his story in month 11. The segment ran for 4 minutes and got more viewer mail than almost anything else that week. People wanted to know if he was still losing weight. They wanted to know if he was okay. They wanted to know about Margaret. Margaret was fine. Margaret was better than fine. Margaret had a cat who met her at the door and purred against her arm and patrolled the house each morning like a small, round security guard who took his job very seriously. At 14 months, Patches weighed 17 pounds. The goal was 15. He was almost there. He still moves slowly. He probably always will. But he moves, he jumps, he patrols, he greets. He chooses Margaret's left knee every single evening without fail, settles himself there with the gravity of someone who has thought carefully about where they belonged and made their decision. He belongs there. Because some animals don't need a miracle. They need a person who will show up every day with a notebook and a measured portion and the willingness to sit on the kitchen floor and keep them company while they do something hard. Margaret was that person for Patches, and Patches, it turned out, was exactly what Margaret needed too. If you're thinking about adopting a senior or special needs pet, please don't let the vet bills or the long road ahead stop you. The ones who need the most patience are often the ones who give the most back. You just have to be willing to take the first Saturday. Is Patches a miracle, or is Margaret? Tell me what you think in the comments.